As I've talked about a few times on the channel, while I will play and enjoy a lot of different types of games and a lot of different types of ARPGs, it's definitely been the case that over the past few years, hands down my favorite has been Path of Exile 2. I mean, this game has kept me entertained for hundreds of hours since it launched into early access. I've been properly obsessed, it's safe to say. I easily clear 100 hours with every major update the game has, and it looks like that will not be changing anytime soon, because they have just revealed details for patch 0.5, and it's the largest one to date. I kid you not. In fact, according to Jonathan,
this is like the largest update we've ever done, and I mean to like Path of Exile 1 or 2.
With them making just sweeping changes to how the end game works, include and added to a brand new league, and all of this comes with just a ridiculous amount of content that is, quote,
it's a huge change to how the end game works, with a kind of ridiculous amount of content for it. Probably honestly more than was really advisable, to be honest.
And I literally laughed out loud when he said that. It's just so funny. And yeah, from what they revealed, I totally get why he would have said that. This seems almost like multiple updates rolled into one, with so many changes and new additions to the core game and to the end game. Now, earlier this week, I did sit in on a presentation where they went into detail on all of this stuff. It was massive. The whole thing ran nearly 2 hours, and it included a Q&A at the end where we got a bunch of additional details from Jonathan beyond what maybe some of you saw in just the recent live stream, because this will be going up right when the embargo lifts just after that. So let's go ahead and start with a quick overview of the new stuff, and then I'll get into some of the goodies that we learned during the Q&A. All right, so first off, patch 0.5 is called Return of the Ancients, and yes, it's a doozy. Here's an extreme TLDR. So there's the brand new league, Runes of Aldur. This comes with a ton of new mechanics and content. There are over 30 new endgame areas, a brand new pinnacle boss to chase after. They did a complete overhaul with a ton of new stuff added to many of the prior endgame mechanics. Specifically, Ritual, Breach, Delirium, and Expedition, all of these get updates that are frankly so big, they each could have been leagues on their own. That's how much has changed in a lot of these. There was also a total overhaul to the Atlas map with new biomes and mechanic-specific locations on top of a newly added Citadel to explore, 15 new bosses, a brand new Atlas passive tree, new crafting systems, 2 new Ascendancies, one for the Hunter and Monk, and over 40 new unique items. This update is insane. All right, we're going to dive in and get some more detail about each of these. Starting with the new league. This league, as with prior ones, will be rolled into the main campaign, and as you play through it, you're going to get a new story quest line that introduces you to the new mechanic, and the mechanic and theming for this league is runesmithing. So you're going to interact with these ruins that you come across on the maps, selecting symbols which are associated with particular elemental magic. You will chisel your chosen combination into the runes, and then this spawns enemies infused with said magic. Basically, though, you are selecting the prize that you want, and that prize consists of a combination of elements that enhance the monsters that are summoned. You kill those, you get the prize. And from what they've showcased, this looks like it's just going to be a wide variety of the game's crafting resources. You can select gem cutters, prisms, orbs of augmentation, and various other orbs. Many different types of runes, of which there are a lot more added with this update, armor scraps, etc. So a lot of the crafting and customization stuff is what you're getting from these ruins that you interact with. So as you progress, you're going to come across these ruins with rune slots, and the further you get through the campaign, the more rune slots are there, which offers more valuable rewards but harder enemies. The enemies will be infused with many more elements, and they're also going to spawn in more waves, so more of them for you to clear. The league also introduces rune forging, so you're going to acquire this resource called Verisium. You'll bring it to the NPC associated with this league, who can upgrade your gear with Runic Ward. Runic Ward is a second health pool that is consumed when your life runs to 0. So it's almost like a layer, as Energy Shield is a layer on top of health, it goes Energy Shield, then health, and now Runic Ward is an additional layer when your health reaches 0, which sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun for people playing hardcore characters. You get yourself a kind of cheat death in a sense. So you can enchant all of your gear with this Runic Ward, stacking up that reserve pool higher and higher. But what's really interesting is Runic Ward also doubles as a resource pool that you can spend on new spell gems in the game. So like the Triskelion Cascade, which will make it so that the next spell that you cast, it will cast at your location, as well as 6 additional times around you. And there's also a bunch of new skill gems that cost Runic Ward instead of mana. On top of that, there's a lot of new support gems that will be tied into the Runic Ward mechanic. Something else you can do with rune forging is reforge unique items that will take low-level uniques and bump up their power level significantly. And they actually said here that their goal with this was to make it so that many of the low-level unused uniques would now be more end-game viable. On top of that, the League adds over 100 new runes to the game. You've got things like the ability to masterwork a rune, which will upgrade socketed runes to a higher tier, going beyond the current highest in the game, or the ability to convert a rune slot into a jewel socket, letting you put jewels directly into your gear. Expeditions will now also include rune crafting options where you can pick from a handful of rewards along the explosion path, and the endgame atlas now includes a whole new ocean biome. So if you head south from the starting point on the atlas, you will eventually discover the coastline of Rayclass. Then, from the town of Kingsmarch, you can set out into the sea, island hopping on expeditions with a host of new maps to clear, 5 brand new bosses to fight, and many secret tombs with lots of treasures to uncover. And all of that is just a brief recap of the new league, the Runes of Aldur League. Think of it, if you're not familiar with PoE2, it's like just a regular season. There's like a season theme and season mechanics. All of that is in this new league/season. But that's only a fraction of the changes and additions with this update. So let's move into endgame. The endgame got a complete revamp and a facelift as well. So in addition to that coastline and explorable ocean that's found to the south, they have totally changed how the Atlas looks and works. Essentially, every league mechanic from the past that's in the core game is now found in these select pockets on the Atlas map and has distinct visuals associated with them. So if you like Breach, Delirium, Abyss, etc., you're going to be able to clearly see these activities in clusters on the map and head towards them. They've also added a new presentation, location, and activity type. Now, the first time what's going to happen is the first time you interact with a tower, you're going to find this massive fortress rising from the earth. So you can head to the fortress and gain access to the front gate by first finding a key. Gaining access lets you start exploring the fortress. This is a new map type with tons of secrets, new bosses, and mechanics, like what the hell is this mech worm thing that could knock you down apparently. And the fortress maps also come with new special modifiers. So there are modifiers like every rare monster can be contained within essence crystals, or replacing monster packs with strong boxes, or maps that will spawn never-ending change of Asmeri spirits that will just jump from one rare monster to the next. Also, any bosses on maps that you clear within the fortress will drop these precursor nodes, and this grants you points for the brand new Atlas passive tree. The Atlas passive tree has gotten a complete overhaul, with them upgrading mechanics found within the tree. Some examples include rogue exiles can now retreat from combat, equipping themselves with better gear before you fight them again, or they can have it so that you add greater suffixes to strong boxes or extra prefixes, up to 7 of these, or ones that combine mechanics, like you can have spirits that possess strong boxes, enhancing all the monsters that spawn within it. So you get points for every map that you clear in the fortress, which will let you unlock the entire Atlas passive tree. You can get all of the nodes on the tree. And the reason for this, they said, is it's going to let them add really good bonuses that they don't have to worry about people constantly wanting to spec in and out of, depending on the activity that they're doing. They're just saying the Atlas tree has a ton of cool stuff and you can have all of the substantial ones. Now, there is still agency here, as many nodes will be multi-choice. Presumably, though, those multi-choice nodes won't be so impactful that you'll want to constantly spec in and out of them. That's just my assumption anyways. All right, bosses. So they wanted to make it now so that all of the endgame bosses are accessible via a quest line. So this is a straightforward process. If you want to fight a certain boss that's associated with a certain endgame mechanic, you now have a clear path to do it for the first time. So bosses are now all at fixed locations on the map, and no more like kind of just waiting around for the keys to drop for you to find them. And the Arbiter of Ash is no longer the game's pinnacle fight. That fight is now going to be found at the center of the fortress, and I don't believe they actually revealed exactly what it is. They're keeping that a secret. Now, fighting the pinnacle boss, once you do, within the fortress, what it's actually going to let you do is activate a section of the fortress, which will auto-complete all of the unfinished maps in the area. So the fortress is divided to different sections. If you kill a pinnacle boss, you can basically clear one of those sections as a reward besides the loot that you get, and doing that gives you all of the points for all of the unfinished map in the area. So the goal of this is you can still explore the infinite atlas outside of the fortress and just focus on clearing the pinnacle boss to get the nodes to put into your atlas skill tree, so you can still get all those end game modifying points. So yeah, you got the new fortress, the revamped atlas tree, and the changes to pinnacle boss fights, end game boss fights. A lot of changes, but they've on top of that added much more. There are now new NPCs that let you customize the Atlas tree further. They are actually referring to these as Ascendancy classes for the Atlas tree. So right now there are 3 new NPCs. Each of these will have objectives for you to complete. You go out, you do the objective, and they give you special bonuses for your gear farming. So for example, you could get things like make it so that all strong boxes on your maps will always be unique, or make it so that map bosses will drop additional unique items, or to have a 25% chance to upgrade a map boss from its normal version to a harder, more rewarding one. So every one of these 3 NPCs has 4 different rows with 3 options each, and you're going to unlock these as you progress and complete quests for them. And again, this is just another layer of customization for the end game Atlas. Now, as alluded to earlier, there has been mechanics to the old leagues. All 4 of the leagues that they initially launched Path of Exile 2 with into early access, they have all been upgraded with brand new quest lines, new mechanics, new crafting systems, new unique rewards, and new pinnacle bosses. Not only that, but as mentioned prior, all of the mechanics now also have these distinct visual representations on the Atlas map, so you can clearly find and farm the ones you prefer. Each mechanic has a brand new quest line that will guide you into finding their exact location, completing their Atlas tree, and how to get to and defeat the pinnacle boss. It's basically just now a much more straightforward system with less randomness, where you're exploring the map and just getting mechanics applied to random nodes. That still exists, but this is a guided introduction to the systems, the mechanics, and the boss fights associated with them. Now, I'm not going to go into full detail on the overhaul and changes of every mechanic, because then this video would be over an hour long. It's legitimately insane. So many changes. But yes, the TLDR is Delirium, Breach, Ritual, and Expedition. All of them get overhauled and new things. And again, some of these changes are so vast that I think they could have actually just been entire leagues in and of themselves, but rather they're all rolled into this one update. It's seriously crazy. So now when you reach the end game of Path of Exile 2, essentially you're just going to have clear objectives depending on the mechanics that you want to do, and each of those mechanics also got major upgrades and loads of new stuff. On top of all of that, we got 2 new Ascendancy classes. There's the Spirit Walker, which is the new class for the Huntress. You can summon up these Asmari spirit animals, as well as tame beast bosses and have them as pets, which is hilarious looking. And then the Martial Artist is the new class for the Monk. It is, as the name implies, a martial arts inspired tree with lots of cool kind of melee focused abilities, and sitting there meditating while your spirit goes around attacking bosses, which is kind of neat. Bunch of new unique items added with all the new content, like there's this 2-handed mace that converts fire damage to cold and has a special attack that rains shards of ice from the sky. Or this one's really cool. There's a minion staff, which makes more spirit reservation efficiency. It allows your minions to get additional slow. But the coolest of all is it's got this AoE skill with these circling crows that grows larger and larger over time. And this also scales with your minion damage and defenses. So this thing might get pretty insane. It looks awesome. Oh, and then finally we got a bunch of quality of life stuff. So for starters, they've added more clear signs on mapping when you're going through the campaign to make getting through it faster, easier if you want. Just more things, even though there is randomness to how the maps are pieced together, their entrance and exit points and certain major points of interest, there are more things that are going to be hints and clues as to you're going in the right direction, that for people who do want to speed through the campaign, the people who are playing season after season, it'll be much easier to do so ideally with this. There's an Atlas map search box, which will let you search for key terms and will highlight it on the map for you. There is now a build build guide importer that will highlight skills suggested by said guide. This also lets creators put notes on many aspects of the game's UI with tips for the build, what sort of items you should put in various slots, what things to focus on at different levels, etc., etc. So you can now just import guides into the game without having to tab out and keep checking up on a web page as well. And they've added some more quality of life for comparing items that you might want to be selling on the marketplace more easily. So that is like a really brief recap of about an hour and a half presentation of all of the new stuff. It's unbelievable. I'm super excited. Now, as mentioned, as part of this little preview that we had, there was a Q&A section with Jonathan. There was a lot of questions in general, but I'm going to focus on the ones that I think are most interesting. And they said we can't really this isn't meant for publication, this interview, but I can recap it here. So let me tell you what they talked about. So Jonathan was asked, why is this update so big? He said, a lot of this update was originally planned for 0.4, as we kind of knew, but it just wasn't finished, and so it got rolled into 0.5, and as a result, this one update ended up absurdly huge. 2 updates in one, but honestly it feels like maybe 3 or 4 updates in one, sincerely. This is intended as well to be the final major update. There might be some other things here and there, but this is the last big one. And the next big update will be 1.0, which they are saying is targeted sometime after ExileCon in November or December. And to put a bow on the answer here, he basically said that this update is as big as it is to try to make sure that the game is in a good spot. And it should really feel like a mostly complete game now, barring the fact that the campaign isn't finished. But besides that, everything else should feel like a fleshed out 1.0 product, and it's looking like it might be. He got asked, Runic Ward seems really powerful. Is the game's difficulty adjusted? Does this just make hardcore easier? And he basically said because it's health and a resource, that they expect players to be using it as a resource on those powerful new skills. So while it could just make hardcore easier because you get an extra reserve health pool, essentially, I think people are going to be tempted to use it as a resource as well, and hopefully that creates a balance. But then he was also asked, kind of tied into that question, is Ward gonna feel mandatory? And he basically said that during the league, like as you're going through the campaign and stuff, yeah, you're gonna want to use it. But come end game, you get to the point where there's a trade-off and you are sacrificing other defenses in order to get Runic Ward. So that's gonna be your choice. Are you gonna sacrifice your energy shield or your health pool to get more Runic Ward? It's not just a straight clear upgrade every time. There is a downside to trying to stack a lot of wards. So it seems like a decent answer. We'll see how it plays out. Now that the world map feels more defined, they were asked if you can still influence your maps with the precursor tablets, and the answer was yes, absolutely. All the old mechanics with the tablets are still there. Their goal here with having these defined mechanic areas was to just add more direction and clear objectives after getting to the end game, so you can just go towards the mechanics you enjoy. But the prior system still exists, and you can still engage with those mechanics on the way to these mechanic hubs, if you will. He got asked how development of the campaign is going. He kind of laughed and said, it's going well. We want it to be finished by 1.0, so it better be going well. Someone asked, with the 15 new bosses / pinnacle boss to fight, do they expect average players to complete all of these in a season? His answer was that yes, they want everyone to be able to experience all of these fights. And really, the important thing is that the starting questline versions, when you get to these bosses for the first time, they're the easiest version of the boss and should totally be more now clearly accessible than it was in the past. He was also asked, with this new build plan import system, are they going to allow for searching for builds within the game client, or are people still going to have to go to websites? His answer was no, they're not going to allow for searching in game. They do want to leave that build discovery to the various websites that make them. They're not looking to replace these sites. The main thing was just making the builds then easier to follow once you selected one. Something else, though, he added was that they're also going to have a subscribe option, so letting you subscribe to certain builds, making it so that those builds will stay updated rather than having to import the files, which will also help out console players who just can't download and import files because they're playing on the console. And he did say that this subscribe option, like subscribe to a build and just have it automatically transferred into your game, this should be ready for the 0.5 release. It just wasn't ready to show during this event and during this preview. And then finally, just when talking about their motivation in general for the endgame changes, Jonathan said simply they really wanted to make what felt like a clear end to your progression. With all of these quests quest lines and even progress bars to fill for every mechanic. You should have a natural point with every season, every league, where you're able to say, okay, I saw and did everything. Now there's still further stuff you can push for the hardest versions. You can keep going. You know, this is just for the initial version of going towards the breach boss, going towards ritual, whatever. There's more to do, but for most players, there should be a point where, okay, yes, I've done every mechanic, I fought every boss associated with them. I can put the game down and come back for the next league. And that's really the main thing that they were aiming for here, rather than kind of what felt like an aimless, infinite grind with how it was structured prior, or really not structured, or with no guidance provided. So yeah, I mean, that's essentially it. And man, I already absolutely love PoE 2. Again, my favorite ARPG, and it's not even finished. It's not even 1.0 yet, and they have just, I don't know, quadrupled the amount of stuff I think I'm going to want to see and do in every season. To be perfectly honest with you, in seasons past, even though I've played nearly 500, it's like, I think it's over 500 hours now, what typically happened was I'd make a character, I would go through the campaign, I would gear up to the point where I was clearing tier 16 maps like pretty confidently, and then I would just kind of keep mapping for a while until I got bored, and then I'd maybe make a new character or something. I think this is actually guided towards me. This is for me. This is for me. This update is perfect. Them providing this clear guidance for the end game, and it's just to have a sense of direction and what to do, along with all the new stuff, with the brand new league and all of its mechanics and stuff to do, with the new Citadel and the overhaul to the Atlas tree. Just all of this stuff sounds so great, and I cannot believe they're making a game that I'm already so obsessed with more obsession worthy. I don't know how else to phrase it. This might be one of the first games since World of Warcraft that I clear 1,000 hours in. I think there's a really good chance. I like this game that much. It's unreal how much it's improving. So man, sign me up. I cannot wait. 0.5. Unfortunately, I'm actually away the day that the actual update launches, but I will be here the following day. So I'm gonna miss launch day. Whatever. It doesn't matter, dude. I've got plenty of time. I've got all the time in the world to play PoE 2. So, but yeah, I cannot wait. Cannot wait for this update. Maybe do some more videos in the coming months leading up to this, talking about specific things. But there's the recap as well as the Q&A with Jonathan. Hope you guys enjoyed the vid. Hope it gave you some new information. And yeah, cannot wait. I am hyped. What are you guys thinking? How are you thinking on this update from what you've seen so far? What are you liking? Any concerns? Let me know. I'd love to know below. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later. Take it easy.